Hi, everybody. My name is Julie Stade, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to do an in-class Canvas flip. So I am the I3 at Sewell Elementary, and I'm also the one of the webmasters here. So I do a lot of technological things here on campus. So the Canvas or in class Canvas flip is something that I was super excited to share with my colleagues, and I'm glad to share it with you too. So the things that I use for the flip is I use Canvas. You need to have access to Discovery Education, Brain Pop Junior, Progress Learning, and then I have an interactive science journal. Now, I did buy this on Teachers, not this, I bought the materials on Teachers Pay Teachers. Um, but there are things that the district has too that you can put into your interactive science journals. Okay, so to get started, this is my Canvas page. What I did was I created like a module template. So let me find my module template. There's a lot of stuff in here. Maybe you should have organized that, put it at the top. Here we are. So the Science Master right here. So what that has in here is a place to put a science video, a place for the journal entries, a place to put the science assignments. And then I like to have the students interact in Canvas. So I have a let's talk about science part. And then if there's a science quiz or a science test in that particular unit. You'll see I use Bitmojis, or not Bitmojis, emojis to kind of let the students know. So in each module that I did, I used the same emojis for each thing. So every time it's a video, it has this little video thing. And every time it's a journal, it has the little notebook icon. So how I would do this is I would get started, and let's look at one. I wanted to show you guys my weather one. Now I had played around with it a little bit. I'd originally just started naming them by just by like the week, and then I decided to go with the unit. The journals and the videos and the assignments were taking a little bit longer than I'd anticipated. So I decided to just name it by the unit name so that I could go ahead and look at it through that rather than have it go week by week. All right, so let me find our weather. So I started by making the template. So I had an idea in my head of how I wanted it to lay it out. So what I did is you make a copy of it. The numbers here are just part of my naming convention from when we were doing everything over the internet, when everything was online. I did this by the weeks of school with a countdown. So like it would start at like 36 and then end at number 1. So that's what the 16 comes from. It just helped me locate things for each week. So that's my naming convention. Okay, so for the weather unit, it was a longer unit. So I had a lot of different things that the kids participated in. So the first thing that I always do is I go to Discovery Education and I find a video that the students can watch that kind of introduces them to the topic. So here is the video that I chose for understanding weather. Now, I put directions in here. You may need to log into Discovery Education first in ReadyHub, and then remember to mark as done when you're finished. What I did was I made all of the pages a requirement that they had to mark it as done or they had to contribute to the page. So in this case with the weather unit, we had the first just kind of like an introductory video. And then the next one is measuring weather. So the part of the TEACs were that they had to understand and identify how to use some weather tools. So this is a video about that. Now the next thing that I do is we get into the journal entries. And what I do is I use Canvas Studio and I record myself doing the journal entries. Now, this does take some time, but I found it saved a lot of time because then the students could work kind of at their own pace. They could color, cut, glue. I teach third grade, so sometimes for those some of those students work super fast. Some of them just take forever, and it's hard to do a whole group lesson when you're waiting for three people. It's hard to go on when you're still waiting for two or three students to finish the coloring and the cutting and the gluing. So I video myself getting into the journal. I start each one the same way, and we can go ahead and play this one and you can listen to it. Okay, so what I do is I go through each of the interactive journal entries and I give them a little bit of a lesson while I'm doing the video. So I go through and and talk to them about the content and explain words that they may not know, introduce new vocabulary. Now, this video was 8 minutes. So, what I also do is I go through and I take pictures of what the final journal entry looks like. So that way, students can take the time to make sure that everything looks neat. And because they use their journals throughout the school year when they're taking CBAs, when they're doing, or I'm sorry, when they're studying for CBAs, when they are doing a one pager, they need to be able to look back into their journal. So I like to take pictures of the journals so that they know what everything is supposed to look like. So you'll see here's the rain gauge and here's the tool. And I go through and talk about, and as I'm doing the journal entries, I talk about what each word means. I underlined this was a fun unit. And I actually did do this from home. So I like to tell them when I'm at home, just because the background looks a little bit different, right? That was on my coffee table and at my desk. So they are like, what are all those? And I go to Hard Rock a lot. So there's a lot of Hard Rock pins in them. Anyway, the kids really enjoy. And then they like seeing me at home, so that was kind of fun. So I go through and I take pictures, and then we have in the front of our journals, we have our table of contents page. So I make sure that they're noting the date and then the topic, the title, and then what page it was on. So that was good. So they then can spell everything and take their time. And then when they're finished with their journal page, they mark as done to go to the next page. and my camera over here is in the way. Let me see if I can get that to move. Was not, oh, let me see if I shrink the screen. There we go. There's the next button. So then the next page is science, another science video, weather versus climate. And so again, they would have to mark it as done, and I can show you how to do that. Then we go to next. And again, here is the journal entry. So here you'll see I've got my interactive journal. Here's another video of me going through how to, what they need to write down, explaining, teaching. And then we've got the photos of what the final journal entry should look like, and then back to our table of contents. And then they mark it as done. They go to the next page, and then another video. So this was about different types of precipitation. And so then we have comparing precipitation. Now, this one was a tougher one. It required a lot more interaction between the students and their journals. And so I thought this was a great way to present this data, because then they're not going back and forth trying to find different websites. And you see I highlighted the precipitation that we were looking at, and then we're comparing precipitation here. And then we go to the next page, which is about temperature. So again, we have a video about temperature, and then we're comparing temperatures in Amarillo, Garland, and San Antonio. This was kind of neat to do because I did do this over the snowstorm, so our temperature was super cold. But we did have them put what time of day, because I have a morning class and an afternoon class. So then eventually what we did is we talked about how the temperature was different in the morning than it was in the afternoon. And here we are with some more journal entries, and then our table of contents. Okay, and so now we get into some of the assignments that I do. So this one I assigned the Brain Pop Junior. I assigned it in Brain Pop, which I can also show you how to do. I always, when I do this, especially if I'm going to take it for a grade, I assign the movie, the quiz, and then I also assign the draw about it and the read about it. In case the students don't do well on the quiz, I always tell them to do the draw about it and the write about it in BrainPop, and then I can look to see if they understood the concept, and then I adjust their grades accordingly if they didn't do well on the quiz. They do have to mark that one as done. And so then we have the water cycle video, and then the water cycle journal entry, and then the water cycle brain pop, right? And so it's a very pattern that we use. Here we have, then I assign them the progress learning, all about weather in Ready Hub. And then the last thing I did, which I really liked, was the 7 little words, which is an Avid strategy, where they wrote 7 words, like they wrote a bunch of words in their journal. They brainstormed and wrote words in their journal, and then they picked their 7 best words. And then what I had them do was I had them record themselves in Canvas talking about their 7 words, and then eventually they wrote a 1-pager. So this video here is me telling them how to do the video entry. So they wrote in their journal first, and then they picked their 7 words. Then they typed their 7 words into the discussion post, and then they videoed themselves talking about their 7 words. And then the final culminating activity was the 7 little words 1-pager. And so you can see some of our responses here. This is mine. So this was what I ended up picking. And then here's my video about, my favorite one. And so here we have one of my students, and these were his 7 words. I don't think everybody did a video. So we've got, and then they could reply to each other. This was kind of like the first time that we had them interact with each other on the Canvas. So that was super exciting to do as well. So let's talk a little bit about some of the other things, and then that's the end of the unit. So when you are creating a module and you want the students to have to um, have not a prerequisite but a requirement within the module, what you need to do is we'll just choose this one. It doesn't have any right now because they're listed underneath, and we go to the three little dots here and we click on edit. And then here where it says add requirements. So for this math area, there was nothing for them to submit through Canvas. So I just had them have to mark it as done. So the math video area requirement, mark as done. So add another requirement if you want them to do each one. So math video area 2, and then you can either click view the item, which just means they have to look at the page. Mark is done requires them to click a button on the page and then contribute to the page. If you have something like a discussion post, then you can click on that. Or if it's an assignment, you click on this and then they have to submit the assignment. They have to do these things before they can go on to the next part of the module. So if we click this one as mark is done, and you can just do that with all of them. So area 4. So this was when we were doing an area review. I had them go through this. So let's go ahead. Hold on one second. Derwin, we're not tutoring today, so head to the library. And then we had them do, this was a journal entry about area. And then we also had a progress learning assignment. Now you'll notice I added an extra one there. I'm going to cross that off. And then we'll click update module and then continue. And you'll see now underneath each of the pages in the module, it now says mark is done, mark done, mark done. So that's how we have that happen. If you want to assign a quiz in BrainPop, if you don't know how to do that, let me log into BrainPop Junior. And I mostly use this for science, but I did use it also, you can see, for math. It helps when you have students that are at different learning levels. So it's really good for differentiation because the fast finishers who do that completely and correctly, you can move them on to like a free time activity or put them into a choice board. That's one I really like to do. Okay, so we're just going to click dashboard up at the top, and then you can click add new assignment. So that's down here, add new assignment. And let's say we were talking about the weather, so we could do type in weather. I normally know what the name of the topic is. So well, let's just say we want it to be predictions, making and testing predictions. Okay, so we click on the video. So normally I would go find the name of the video. I didn't do that for this one. So here's our assignment. So now I assign the movie. Depending on where my students are at, I either assign the easy quiz or the hard quiz. It depends. And then, so we'll assign the easy quiz for this one. And then I always assign this draw about it and this write about it. And then you just keep scrolling down. There's quite a few different activities. You can explore them. Sometimes it gets to be too much for them to look at, especially with third grade. But they've got like these belly up jokes are kind of fun to look at. And so then we're going to go down here to the next button. And then here's where we're selecting our students. So I want to assign to my science. If you say you wanted to differentiate and do the hard quiz for some kids and the easy quiz for others, you could come in here and do that here. So we can either click all the students or you can unclick that and then you can just click on specific students. And then we go to next. title. So that was making and testing predictions. And then I always put in the same instructions, which is watch the video. Okay, so it doesn't like the dots. Sorry about that. Watch the video. Um, take the quiz. And then we do a draw about it or write about it. So that I give those directions every time. We don't need to put in a due date, but you can. If you wanted to prepare ahead, you could, schedule it for later. So if I don't want them to do it today, but I want them to do it next week, you could just start it for next week. And that's super easy. We can come in here and click on a date. And then we assign it. And then the students, I'm not quite sure why it doesn't like my instructions. That's weird. That's never happened before. Watch the video. Take the. Okay, I don't know what's going on with Brain Pop Junior, but normally you type in the assignment instructions there, and then we click assign. That's fine. We'll take this out. Then we click assign, and now it's assigned to the students. What I like about this is that it's super easy also to grade. So let's look at butterflies. So you can see that 21 students took the quiz. One student did draw about it, and one student did a write, or no students did a write about it. So if we click on the butterflies, you'll see here what their scores are. It's super easy to then translate that into your grade book if you want to. And then the draw about it, I'm going to guess was is Brooklyn. So like, here's what her draw about it looks like with her butterfly. Okay, so let's go ahead and you can also assign through progress learning. You can make an assignment, which I can show you how to do that. So you go to this assignment center here, and we'll go to assignment builder. You have to, we'll just call it area math. And so you click on, you make a name, you click on the subject, and then I always go down to this practice questions part. Domain under area would be geometry and measurements. And then you click whatever you want them to work on. So we'll do area of rectangles, and then I'm missing again. There it is, save and continue. And then you can assign it to students. What I like about this is you have this option here, eliminate one answer for multiple choice questions. So I use that for my kids with accommodations. So you can come through and you can click on, you click here, and then what happens when they take the assignment, when they take the quiz, it grays out one of the answer choices. So that's a super helpful thing to help you differentiate for your kiddos. Save and continue, and it says, and now it's already assigned to the students. So we're going to go ahead and save and continue. Now with the progress learning, you do have to put in a start date and a due date. I always make my minimum score be 70%. If they don't get 70%, then they have to retry it. So when you click on that, it automatically makes the number of attempts as unlimited. I like to use the progress learning as practice. I don't take it for a lot of grades. If I'm taking it for a grade, then I may limit their attempts to one or two, depending on the topic. But for just like a practice, like I want them to practice, then I do 70%, and then they have an unlimited number of attempts. And then we save the assignments, and now the assignment is saved right here. If you want to look at what the grades look like, so here we have structural functions, You'll see I've got 37 out of my 42 students that completed it. And then what that looks like in the grade book, if you wanted to track it, is you go to reports and then you click on grade book. Um, and then we have to select my class. So I'll select just this class, and that's my math class. And then you click here for run report. And then this gives you an idea of um, of how the students are doing. Like clearly, 2-digit times 1-digit student was not successful. So he definitely got some small group time for that. Also, the student here. You can also assign a bunch of different things. Like this person had to do a principal's plan. So I assigned her specific things through progress learning, but that's not my in-class flip. So that is how I do an in-class flip with Canvas, using all of the other things that we have in ReadyHub, Discovery Education, Brain Pop Junior, Progress Learning. The Interactive Science Journal, like I said, I got these materials from Teachers Pay Teachers, but there are things in the curriculum that you can also use for the interactive journal. And so if you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me. There's my email right there. And I want to thank you so much for watching my video.